Video games are obviously meant to provide a challenge, but some places in games really deliver. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the 10 most dangerous video game areas ever. Starting off with number 10, the quarantine on Dead Island. With Dead Island 2 seemingly finally coming out, now is a better time than any to talk about the most annoying and brutal location in the entire original game. In the city section of the game, there's a portion of the map that's walled off, simply known as the quarantine. It's meant to be ground zero of the outbreak. There's a few ways in, but unless you really have something to be doing here, it's better to just avoid it for one simple reason. When you're in the quarantine, zombies endlessly spawn and immediately hone in on your location. Not that that would be a huge deal, normally speaking, because if you're on the rooftops, then most zombies can't get you, but exclusively in the quarantine, the zombies know how to climb ladders. Also, the rooftops are swarming with scavengers, so nowhere's actually safe in this place. There's not even that much good loot, so it's almost completely pointless to go there unless you absolutely have to. Most open world zombie games eventually become a total power fantasy by the end, but at least in Dead Island, there's this one area that if you go into it, you'll most likely end up dead, no matter how tough you think you are. At number 9 is Sen's Fortress from Dark Souls. This infamous bottleneck is the entryway into the second half of the game, but if you're anything like me, it's gonna take more than a few deaths to get there. Sen's Fortress is one big, brutal death trap, and even people who've played through the game multiple times and know the area like the back of their hands get tripped up by it. This place pulls out every nasty trick in the book. It's got enough enemies guarding narrow pathways, it's got swinging pendulums of death, it's got those annoying Temple of Doom boulders rolling around, and once you get outside, you gotta deal with an angry giant hucking explosives everywhere you go. All this with no checkpoints and, unless you read the wiki, no shortcuts either. It's a miserable gauntlet of death that the only reprieve is the relatively easy boss at the end, and this thing still manages to pull off a cheap trick here and there, pretty much because of how narrow its arena is. There's no worse feeling than finally making it through this place, only to get knocked off the ledge by, again, a relatively easy boss in the final stretch. It's not just that you have to fight the boss all over again, you basically have to go through the entire level all over again. Later games in the series may have some more brutal trap dungeons hidden away in them, but this is the only game where the nonsense is not optional. You have to do it to get to the next major area of the game. That said, some people love this place because of all the BS, but it's BS nonetheless. At number 8 is the Glowing Sea from Fallout 4. In the far southwestern corner of the map in Fallout 4, you can find the Glowing Sea, ground zero where the bomb blew up in Boston. On top of it being a blasted wasteland filled with the most dangerous enemies in the game, it's also highly radioactive. Just standing in this place without protection can kill you in just a few seconds. Pretty much all radiation effects are doubled in this place, so without some proper protection and a whole lot of rat-away, death is almost certainly inevitable while you're here. What makes this place so interesting outside of the inherent danger of exploring a nuclear blast site is that it's mostly off the map. Like most open world games just stop at the edges of the map, but at least with this area there's explorable bounds off the map that extend well beyond the edges of the Pip-Boy map, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to find if you've got the necessary protection to survive in the inhospitable environment. When I said this place was filled with the most dangerous enemies in the game, I was not kidding about that. Wander around here, you're gonna run into glowing ones, giant rad scorpions, so many death claws, which when combined with all the radiation, make this place a really nasty location to be in. There's an exciting sense of danger just wandering around here, but it's so dangerous the actual rewards for exploring aren't really worth the effort, generally speaking. At number 7 is the Zarkin Labyrinth from Ninja Gaiden Black, a brutally difficult game at the best of times, but this one area really stands out as dangerous. Is this place for just 2 words: Ghostfish. I could end things there. This could be a very short point, but not everybody has played this game. If you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for everybody who hasn't, or just it's been a while, here's the refresher. Near the end of the game, there's this labyrinth. It's not much of a maze. Like, most of the standard enemies aren't really anything to worry about. But along the way, you'll run into these infuriating little biters that float through the air and only exist to make you, the player, not the character that you're playing as, you miserable. They're the ghost fish, these horrible little monsters that can kill you with just one hit. But they always appear in swarms and have one attack only, where they fly at you and instantly start biting. Again, all it takes is one of these guys to start chowing down on you, and this supposed ninja master becomes stun-locked into oblivion. You can mash out when they grab you, but half the time, you just end up getting bit by another one of these little nightmares and you're back to square one. If a couple of these things grab on you, you might as well call it quits there. It's over. Ninja Gaiden is a tough game, but somehow, out of all the tough boss fights you have to get through in this area, it's these worthless little fish floating around that really give you problems. Oh sure, tanks, helicopters, no big deal, but little ghost fish? I can't do it. I can't do it. And number 6 is the lava lakes from Subnautica. Technically, there's probably more dangerous areas in Subnautica, like the Crater's Edge, but I went with this area because of how psychologically dangerous it is. The thing about Subnautica is that, the entire game's spent underwater. It's a survival game, so along with food and water, the most important thing you need is oxygen, and not just something you can get wherever you want, you gotta produce it with machines at your base. All that to say, if you're deep underground, far away from your base, and you're short of oxygen, you're screwed. Your oxygen supply is a constant source of concern at all times in this game, and the deeper you get, the more you're exploring by the seat of your pants, not knowing where you're going, or even worse, how to get back. In terms of hostile environments, doesn't get a lot worse than the inactive lava zone, and the ultimate location, the lava lakes. Located 1,300 meters below, with temperatures that top off at a sweltering 150 degrees Fahrenheit, just being in this place is dangerous to the human body, both because of the extreme heat and that the pressure can kill you without necessary protections, and that's on top of the deadly creatures that wander around. Along with the sea dragon Leviathan that can kill you just for looking at it funny, there's these little creatures called lava larvae, but they have a nasty habit of grabbing onto your vehicles and draining all the power out of them. No matter what you do, the fear of drowning in Subnautica is probably the biggest looming threat, and no matter how much you prepare, that fear can be overwhelming the first time you find the lava lakes. And number 5, the Crystal Tower in the Dark World from Final Fantasy III. We are going back way back to April 27, 1990, with what is just one of the most unnecessarily evil final dungeons in video game history. This area is infamous, folks, and while it probably doesn't look all that intimidating now, believe me when I say it is rough. Here's the thing, this is a JRPG, it's turn-based, and that means random battles. These battles happen every few steps, which is annoying, but the real issue is that this dungeon has a certain combination of enemies that, if you are unlucky, can kill your entire team before the first turn, before you even do anything. Everything here is significantly tougher than you've had to deal with previously, so grinding is basically required. But the second you enter the Crystal Tower, there is no going back, and here's the thing that really makes this place evil. There ain't no save points. None. Zero. If you want to beat this game, you got to get through 2 final dungeons, both of which are unbearably long and have multiple incredibly punishing boss fights with those enemies that, like I said a moment ago, can kill you before the first turn. To call this place infamous is almost an understatement. It's completely insane what they expect from players here, and the actual designers of the game have come out and publicly apologized because of how unbelievably brutal this whole area is. There was a reason Final Fantasy IV was so revolutionary at the time. You could actually save in the middle of a dungeon. What a concept! And number 4 is the White Palace from Hollow Knight. One of those games that the difficulty curve is pretty even for most of the game, but when you start getting to the secret endgame stuff, it stops messing around. The ultimate roadblock to getting the true ending is the White Palace, and what makes this place unusual is that there aren't really a lot of enemies. The thing that'll kill you is the bottomless pits or these seemingly endless walls of spikes. Yeah, it's basically really just an evil platforming challenge. It's like if Super Meat Boy wasn't split up into bite-sized levels and you had to beat the entire world in one go. There's even a bunch of Meat Boy style spinning saw blades just to make the comparison really obvious, and this whole place is tough. But if you really hate yourself, there's an even harder secret path you can take called, appropriately enough, the Path of Pain. Standard path through here is enough for me though. Thanks, I'm good. Take care now, bye then. And number 3 is the Lake of Rot from Elden Ring. Elden Ring has its fair share of dangerous areas. Off the top of my head, I could list Kaled, the shaded castle, that snowfield where you can't see anything. But if I have to pick one location, there's really one choice, and it's as miserable as it sounds. This lake absolutely lives up to its name. It's a giant underground swamp filled with scarlet rot juice. If you're unaware, scarlet rot is like poison on steroids. Instead of killing you slowly after a few minutes, getting scarlet rot makes your health drain brutally fast, and just standing this stuff gives it to you after a few seconds. You can't ride your spirit steed over it, you can't completely protect yourself from the rot, so all you can really do is run from the small little platforms that appear and hope you don't die. That alone would make this place one of the most ridiculously deadly spots in the game, but guess what? There are basilisks wandering around the lake as well. These horrible creatures release a gas that causes curse. That, if it builds up all the way, kills you instantly. That's not even all that's here. There's also a giant dragon warrior that'll pop up if you get too close to it. Sound fun? Fighting a boss in the middle of all this crap? It's almost impossible to imagine From topping themselves with this one, but I don't want to give them any ideas, so I'm not even going to make a joke here about how we could do that. And number 2 is the Hell Temple from La Mulana. For people who love Metroidvanias, this game is a rite of passage. It's something every fan of the genre is probably going to get around to eventually, and what they're going to find is one of the most obtuse, unfair, and insane games of all time. Some love it, some hate it, but it's a game that knows exactly what it wants to be, a very specific homage to certain ball-bustingly hard old-school adventure games. You know, the kinds of games where nothing made actual sense, where the translation is a little bit off, and if you wanted any chance of getting through them, you needed to get the power. That is Nintendo power, because nobody was solving this crap without a guide. That is to say that normally La Mulana is an extremely difficult and obscure game. So what happens when an already tough game decides to be as insanely trollish as it can be? We call that the Hell Temple. This place is exclusively for masochists. It's filled with wall-to-wall, pure trial and error traps, intentionally awkward jumps, fake rooms, and almost non-stop trolling with this stupid Land of Hell room the game sends you every time you miss a jump. Hell Temple lives up to its name, but it saves its most evil trick for the end. When you get there, it forces you to leave the temple to get an item to solve the final puzzle, which forces you to go through the entire temple again. Sounds like a good time, right? And finally, at number 1, Grand Theft Auto 3's St. Mark's. All that stuff I mentioned earlier, it's bad, but it's all beatable to some degree. The only reason to go to St. Mark's post Sayonara Salvatore, the mission where you turn on the mob, is if you want to die. I don't mean like slow, I mean fast. Liberty City by the end of Grand Theft Auto 3 is kind of a miserable place, filled with gangs that want to kill you on sight. By far the worst of them is of course the Mafia, who are mostly found in St. Mark's. After you betray them and kill their leader, which is a required mission by the way, then the second guys they see you, they start pumping your car full of lead. The air ringing with the sound of pistols and shotguns. It's the latter that's especially nasty. A few hits from a shotgun will turn any of the notoriously weak vehicles you drive in this game into a rolling bomb with you inside of it. Having these guys on your bad side turns certain missions where you're going through St. Mark's nearly impossible because they'll just rip your car to shreds because it's you. And it doesn't get a lot easier when you're on foot because they seem to like to spawn behind you and stun lock you to death with their infinitely reloading shotguns. By the end of GTA 3, there's really no place you'll want to avoid more than St. Mark's. It's basically the Mordor of the game, the Chernobyl exclusion zone, and the ninth circle of hell. Take all three of those things, wrap them into one. You got St. Mark's. It's not a place you want to be. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.